They thought numbers would save them. 500 elite warriors, war-forged and merciless, against one unarmed human. But when she smiled, they finally understood. She wasn't outnumbered, they were outmatched. The battlefield was silent. 500 alien soldiers, armed, trained, ready. She stood alone. No backup, no fear. They thought it would be easy. But then she smiled. That's when they realized they weren't the hunters. They were the prey. The transport ship drifted in dead silence above a barren, gray world. No escort, no signal beacon, no weapons, just a single matte black vessel orbiting a fractured moon. Inside, the cargo was neither diplomatic nor technological. It was a woman, human, no name listed on the manifest, no call sign, no rank. She stood inside the launch chamber, staring at the drop pod before her, a sleek, coffin-shaped capsule made of neutron-forged composite, barely large enough to hold a body. Her hands were bare, no gloves, no sidearm. Her only gear was the skin-tight, silent armor that shimmered faintly with kinetic-responsive nanofiber. A voice crackled from the deck above, confirming zero weapons loadout, last chance to request backup. She didn't reply. Instead, she stepped into the pod. No ceremony, no hesitation, just quiet inevitability. The chamber sealed with a hiss. Countdown began. 5, 4, 3. Above the planet's atmosphere, 117 satellites blinked online. Their targeting systems locked onto the descending pod. Defense grids primed. Sniper drones deployed. She was expected. 2-1. Launch. The pod fired from the underbelly of the transport like a bullet, heat shields burning white-hot as it knifed through the atmosphere of Voral 9. A neutral world under control of the Seshari Alliance. A fractured union of 6 militarized species. The meeting was supposed to be peaceful. That was the lie. They knew she was human the moment her pod hit dirt. The ground cracked but didn't crater. No debris, no dust plume, just silence. Then the pod door hissed open, and she stepped out, not limping, not disoriented, not afraid. She stepped onto the surface like she had arrived on schedule. The 500 waiting for her didn't speak. Not yet. They stood in concentric formation around the impact zone, an arena made of armor, rifles, fangs, and claws. Seshari shock troops, elite, war-tested, enhanced. 500 soldiers, all aimed at her. A floating war table hovered above them, broadcasting the image to every corner of the Alliance. Thousands watched. The last human envoy. Their chance to publicly humiliate Earth, to prove the human myth wrong, to break her on record. A four-armed officer stepped forward, gold crests on his chest, body shimmering with command pheromones. Human, he called. You have entered a restricted zone. You are surrounded. You are outnumbered. Your fleet has been tracked and blockaded. Surrender is the only option. She looked up at him and smiled, not mockery, not defiance, just a slight curve of the lips, calm, controlled, surgical. A ripple of unease passed through the ranks. The officer stiffened. I said surrender, he snapped. She tilted her head and took a step forward. Instantly, weapons rose, plasma rifles charged, autocannons locked. Orbital spotters readied kinetic rounds, but she didn't stop. She walked slowly, step by step, across the cracked gray surface of Voral 9. Unarmed, alone, unbothered, the officer snarled. Another step and you die. She didn't stop. She took 2 more. Fire, he shouted. Nothing happened. Every weapon triggered. Every rifle clicked. Dry, silent, useless. Panic rippled. Soldiers checked power cells, fired again, overrode safeties. Nothing. All systems were dead. The officer turned to his comms unit. Command, we have a breach. Static. His voice vanished mid-sentence. The war table above them flickered, and then it shut off. The battlefield, once a sea of tech, became quiet. Then the lights on their armor died. Every soldier's HUD went black. Their audio links cut. Their exosuits froze in place. Only life support remained. The commander turned slowly back toward her. She stood 5 meters from him now, still smiling. Not breathing hard, not tense, just waiting. Then she spoke her first word since landing. Begin, nothing else, just that. and behind her the sky shimmered, not visibly, not loudly, but subtly as if space itself had bent slightly in her favor. A flicker, a shimmer, and then it began. The first soldier, Unit 244, vanished. No noise, no flash, no warning. One frame he was there. The next he wasn't. His armor dropped empty to the ground. Two more followed, then four, then 10, then 50. The formation broke. Commanders barked orders, but no sound came. They tried to run. Their legs locked. They tried to shoot. Their suits resisted. One by one they were removed. Not killed, not destroyed, removed, like errors in a program. Deleted by something that was never announced, never declared, never seen. The officer screamed in primal rage, charged forward with a blade of thermoplasma and reached her. She didn't move. The blade swung, stopped midair, frozen. The plasma dimmed, fizzled, and collapsed into smoke. His arm refused to obey. She stepped past him, placing one hand on his shoulder as she passed. He collapsed to his knees, breathing, awake, but broken. 5 minutes. That's how long it took for 500 elite soldiers to fall. No injuries, no wreckage, just empty armor, deactivated drones, and a silence that felt heavier than death. She stood alone in the center of the arena once again. Alone, but this time victorious. Her smile remained, not cruel, not triumphant, just inevitable. And somewhere far above the planet, Earth watched, not to celebrate, not to broadcast, but to confirm the world had witnessed what came next. One unarmed woman, outnumbered 500 to 1, and still she smiled. The aftermath was silent. Suits lay empty, blades powered down. The last audio signal broadcast from the battlefield was static, then nothing. The Seshari Command's orbital feed went black 2 minutes after the drop. All they had left was confusion and fear. Then came the final image. A high-res satellite, shielded from surface interference, captured a single frame before its systems died. The human operative standing in the middle of the field alone, smiling. No words, no movement, no fire, just her. That smile was uploaded across every known military channel in the Seshari Alliance. It wasn't a grin of victory. It wasn't even pride. It was worse. It was certainty. The High Council of the Seshari convened within the hour. 12 warlords across 3 species connected via hardened link nodes. What the hell just happened? Growled Warlord Nakar. We sent 500 elite units, and one human erased them, spat another. No weapon signatures, no orbital bombardment, no mechanized response. Nothing conventional. Was it nanotech, quantum disruption, mass psychic override? Impossible. She had no device, no support. The entire operation was monitored. Silence fell. They all knew the unspoken truth. This wasn't failure. This was a demonstration. Elsewhere, deep in conquered territory, an ancient AI tasked with tracking warfare trends sent a burst signal to its handlers. Human presence detected. Response pattern indicates advanced kill switch protocol. Behavioral match. Operation Gardenfall, Siege of Nihra 6, Protocol 7A, conclusion. This is not retaliation. This is execution. Back on Voral 9, the remaining personnel, those stationed miles from the drop site, began to fall back. They hadn't seen the battle. They didn't need to. What they witnessed instead was more terrifying. The battlefield repaired itself. Where plasma scorches had marked the dirt, the land reformed. Not melted. Reset. Even the dropped rifles and shattered helmets vanished, pixel by pixel, as though a program had reversed the events that took place. The command team monitoring the feed stared mute. This isn't human, someone whispered. No, another said slowly, but it's what humanity brought. 50 hours later, a military science station in the Adrax belt picked up something strange. A ripple, not energy, not gravitational, it was instructional. A subquantum pattern threaded through dark space itself. A language made of motion and prediction. It carried no code, no malware, just a location, a call. And then within the hour, 3 Seshari war stations went offline. Simultaneously, each vanished from sensors mid-broadcast. When scout ships arrived, they found nothing. No debris, no trace. Only three words etched into the surviving satellites rotating in Terran Standard: triggered, engaged, removed. The Seshari began to panic. They scrambled fleets, rallied mercenaries, issued bounties, nothing answered. And then came the next message, this time from Earth. Not a voice, not a demand, just a still image, a massive command chamber full of alien generals empty. No blood, no violence, no signs of conflict. Just vacant armor and turned over chairs. Beneath it, four words burned. Your wars are over. Back on Voral 9, reconnaissance teams moved cautiously toward the last known location of the human operative. They found no pod, no signal, no body, just a single coin embedded into the rock where she stood. One side Earth, the other side a woman smiling. The rock beneath the coin wasn't rock anymore. It was something else. Some kind of carbon crystal, fused at a molecular level, impervious to scans. And when one soldier reached out to touch it, he screamed. He collapsed, his mind flooded with one moment, the smile, the exact instant she said, "Begin." And behind her, reality folded. When he regained consciousness, he couldn't speak, not from fear, from reverence. A week later, the Galactic Conquered received a private message, encrypted, clean, from a rogue Seshari fleet now defecting, not out of allegiance, but survival. They had intercepted the human operative's arrival transmission. It was only 4 seconds long. No voice, no visuals, just authentication. Earth didn't send her as a diplomat. She wasn't classified under foreign relations. She wasn't military command. Her designation read, Contingency Protocol Primer Operative, Smile. One word as her call sign. Smile, not for friendliness, not for peace, but because the last thing any enemy would see was that terrifying, silent smile just before their world ceased to exist. Across the stars, alliances trembled. Systems once considered secure became uncertain. Military forces turned inward, watching their own shadows. And in the dark between empires, two words echoed through abandoned comm channels. She's smiling again. The Seshari called her a myth. Then they called her a weapon. Now they had no word for her at all, because by the third week she had already moved on. The incident on Voral 9 was just the primer, the trigger, the opening note, and the next chord struck with surgical precision. Not bombings, not wars, patterns. Entire communication networks fell silent, one node at a time, until only Outer Rim colonies had access to intergalactic comms. Supply ships rerouted themselves, course corrections that no pilot initiated. Defense satellites pointed away from their own worlds. It was like the galaxy was being rearranged. And behind it all, one signature appeared over and over again. Smile 00. In the War Museum of Kelvareth Prime, historians gathered around an artifact that hadn't existed a day earlier. It had simply appeared. A black coin resting at the foot of the monument to unity, a towering statue of species once united in conquest, now cracked. The coin had no fingerprints, no traceable material. One side showed the monument itself broken. The other showed her, back turned, hands folded behind her, watching stars fall. At the base of the statue, a line had etched itself in the stone. You numbered yourselves. We counted the cost. Within 48 hours, Kelvareth Prime's planetary command center lost all its files. Decades of strategy, war logs, and intel erased. No breach, no fire, just absence. The Seshari High Warlords, now down to 4 surviving members, called an emergency conclave. They met inside the vault, 10 kilometers beneath their capital, shielded against every known attack vector. They didn't discuss diplomacy. They debated survival. We underestimated Earth. No, we underestimated what Earth left behind. She's not a soldier. She's not even human anymore. She's something else. One of them pulled up the footage from a secret observatory station orbiting the galactic void. It had captured a glimpse of something that moved faster than light, but without distortion. It bent gravity but didn't trigger sensors. It blinked across parsecs without breaking thermodynamics. In one frame, just a blur. In the next, her silhouette standing at the edge of a star, watching it implode. They stared in silence. Then one of them whispered, "This isn't about war. This is software, and she's the update." On the planet Dravhul, an ancient temple vanished overnight. It wasn't bombed. It wasn't stolen. It was replaced. In its place, a garden bloomed, but every plant was Earth native, every tree from the biomes of old Terra. Birdsong filled the air. In the middle of it all stood a statue of a little girl, holding a flower, the inscription. Her name was Myra. She built a garden. You burned it. We rewrote the world so you never existed. The council went silent, because Myra was the name of a child listed in the Carthage 7 colony manifest, the one Earth never retaliated over. Until now. By the end of the month, over 37 species had declared neutrality, not because of treaties, but because the Ghost Smile Protocol had activated across 12 systems. Entire fleets were disabled mid-jump. Orbital fortresses disappeared before they could finish sending distress signals. Some worlds weren't destroyed, just reprogrammed. Oceans reversed current. Moons cracked apart. Gravity warped into perfect silence. And across every surface left behind, etched into metal, rock, or glass, was the same phrase: "This is mercy." Humanity never made a demand, never responded to inquiries. No ambassador came forward, only her. She appeared again above a council outpost on Grelvek Station. Cameras caught it, a ship so black it erased light descending with zero heat trail. She stepped out alone, smiling. Security scrambled, artillery loaded, defense protocols activated. She walked across the tarmac, unarmed, again. When the first plasma bolt fired, it froze midair. Time around her slowed, not visually but functionally. Every combatant collapsed in place. Not dead, not wounded, just locked, frozen in a moment. The entire station powered down, life support intact, and on every screen her face appeared, eyes steady, voice calm. "We didn't ask you to kneel. We asked you to let us stand." Then she disappeared, not blinked away, not teleported. She simply wasn't there anymore. From then on, her legend stopped being a story. It became a law. Do not engage human protocol agents. Do not enter reclaimed human zones. Do not acknowledge the coin. Because every time that coin appeared, the world changed. Governments fell. Armies surrendered to silence. And no one ever found her ship. No one ever traced her signal. Because she didn't arrive in a vessel. She arrived in cause. The moment you wronged the innocent, broke the balance, or tried to force a species to bow, she was already en route. In the records of the last Seshari stronghold, just before it collapsed into itself, one final message was auto-transcribed, audio corrupted, visuals absent. Just one phrase remained intact in the system log. She smiled. And so we ended. The galaxy had no word for her anymore, not enemy, not operative, not even human. She had become something else, a response, not from Earth, from reality. The ones who stood against her didn't die. They simply ceased to be part of the story. It began with the Asphalt Accord. 36 minor empires, panicked and leaderless, gathered to negotiate new terms for galactic order. The old powers had crumbled, their fleets hollowed, their generals erased. Now these survivors wanted rules, rules that made sense again. They never finished signing the treaty, because in the center of the negotiation table a coin appeared. No sound, no entry, just a coin. One side the new Accord's crest as if pre-printed, the other her smile, engraved beneath, "You're already too late." Entire systems began self-restructuring, not from orders, from code. Data cores rewritten, military AI replaced by unknown languages, navigation beacons rerouted to black zones, coordinates long thought dead. The systems didn't fall, they changed alignment. To what? No one knew. But colonies began receiving humanitarian supplies before they sent distress calls. Collapsed ecologies regrew on fractured worlds. Former war zones now enforced disarmament protocols before ships even entered orbit. And in all of them, somewhere hidden in the infrastructure, always a coin. The old elite tried to resist. They called her a virus, a weapon, an extinction trigger, but Earth never claimed her. Humanity never broadcast a word. In fact, by year's end, Earth was invisible, its systems shielded, its presence gone from the star maps, and still she acted. Every time a new power tried to fill the vacuum with fear, she walked in, smiling, not speaking, and everything around her decided to stop. The Seshari, now reduced to a scattered few, attempted one final gambit. They built a beacon, not to attack her, but to call her, to lure her. The beacon broadcast one message across all subspace: "We kneel," and it waited a week, two, nothing. Then on the 13th day, the beacon's power core vanished, not exploded, not taken, erased. The beacon went dark, and on its final camera feed, time-stamped at the exact moment of blackout, her silhouette, facing away, watching the stars. Galactic scholars tried to decode her origin. Was she an AI, a soldier, a god? They found nothing. Only fragmented records from ancient Earth campaigns, mentions of Smile Protocol, rumors of a last contingency built not to kill, but to correct, to ensure that no one would ever again build a world where kneeling was required. A safeguard against cruelty posing as order, not a person, a consequence. One day, a child born on a refugee world asked her teacher, "Is it true one woman did all this?" The teacher smiled. No, one woman didn't destroy armies. She just stood when everyone else bowed. Why didn't they stop her? Because by the time they realized she was smiling, it was already over. The final appearance was not broadcast. It was whispered. A station deep in uncharted space, forgotten since the conquered fell, detected an impossible signal. A wave that bent time slightly, not enough to disrupt, but enough to rewrite. Inside the station's core vault, a phrase burned itself into the steel walls. "When you made us kneel, you taught us what to stand for." And beneath it, the coin. One last time. Then the station's orbit realigned, its systems rebooted, and it became a library, autonomous, eternal, holding records not of wars but of truth, who kneeled, who stood, and why it mattered. From that day forward, species stopped asking, "Who will rule?" Instead, they asked, "Will she smile?" Because if she did, it meant someone somewhere had gone too far, and reality had just issued a correction.